Hey everyone, I'm just waiting for Suzie Parkus to join us. Hey Suzie,
Hi, how you doing?
really, really well, thank you. Today, me and Suzie are in conversation. I am introducing Suzie, but I'm going to let Suzie take over a little bit because we were going to do it the other way around, but circumstances has meant I've got to bring Suzie into the broadcast. So, welcome, Suzie, and off we go.
Off we go. So basically, you and I were going to have a proper get to know you today because, so for those of you that don't know, I first met Mark because I wrote his publicity bio for him. So he was introduced to me, and we spent quite a lot of time together actually having a conversation about your story and your aspirations. And at that point, you're an up and coming speaker and author, and you had all these big dreams. And so I worked hand in glove with you to understand sort of where you've come from and where it is you want to be going. And then I put together your bio for you, which was actually one of my best bios to date, and one that everyone's quite envious of, I have to say. So that's how I got to know you in the first place. And for me, it's really, really exciting to be able to have watched your journey from someone who was, just at that time wanting to start that journey of being an author and a speaker. And I think you've outspoken me this year already. So, you've done really well, and, you've really applied yourself to this journey that you want to take yourself on. So for me, I feel super proud. And it was really nice when I got your book through the post as well, and I got to see your book. And yeah, it's really, really great when I see my clients, in flow with their journey, when I get hold of them at a certain point and they're wanting to travel this journey, and then I watch that journey with them and I support them through it. It's really awesome. So for me, I have to say I'm really, really proud of you to see that everything that you've wanted has come into fruition.
Thank you so much. Still a long way to go yet though, Suzie.
Yeah, but we're all a work in progress. I mean, even for myself, I have done an amazing personal development workshop only 3 months ago, which I know I've spoken to you about in private, and some people know on my Facebook. And it's really changed my world, and it's changing my direction massively. It's changing the kind of people that I want to be working with and the kind of work that I want to show up and do. So we've always got to remember that we're all a work in progress. And, when I started out in business 17 years ago, I never thought in a million years I'd end up on the TV and in magazines. And we just have to go with the flow and always be true to ourselves and follow our hearts, and that's what I can really say to you.
And it's about enjoying the little victories every day and taking time to enjoy the
Yeah.
success that you do have, and those little moments, about enjoying those little moments.
And I think, so I started journaling about 2, 3 weeks ago now. And okay, I've been really naughty since Tuesday, and I've just written down notes and I haven't journaled properly. But my week has been so full. I've met the most amazing people, and just the most bizarre coincidences have happened. But we know there are no coincidences in life. And when you can remember those moments, not just on that day, but you can look back over them, it's really amazing to be able to look back and see your journey of where you've come from.
Definitely. On that note, Suzie, I'd like to know a little bit about your background and where it all started, because I know where you are now, but I don't know much about the past, any maybe adversities you've had to overcome, and a little bit about your story as well.
God, that's quite a big ask, We haven't got all day. um, what about my story in particular are you interested in? The work journey or my personal journey?
What
Where do you want me to start?
what got you into PR? Where did that all come from? So from where you were to then switching to PR.
Okay, fine. So, well, I've been in business for 17 years, and in all the 5 businesses I've had in that time, I've had to PR myself, but I didn't really understand what PR was, to be honest with you, until, like more recently. And PR basically is how people think about you and how they feel about you whenever they come into contact with you and when you're out the room as well. And the first time I was in the press was when Barclays did a Trading Places Award, and I got nominated, and I was part of that. And I had my first sort of sweep with, you know, trying to get in the media. And that was ages ago. That was about sort of 2009, and I got a nice mention in the newspaper. And then when I became a dating coach, I was doing really well, and I was doing really well in my niche, and I was having great success. And when I dropped the singles events and the matchmaking and focused solely on the coaching, I decided I wanted to stop being a well-kept secret, because I was having an amazing success with word of mouth publicity. But of course, you know, we want more people to know about us and what it is that we're achieving. So I started speaking to publicists, all sorts of different people that I was being introduced to. And I asked the question, you know, how much is it going to cost to PR me, and what can I expect, and in what time frame? And I was told that it was going to cost between £2,000 to £6,000 a month, and it would take 3 to 6 months to see any return on my investment. And I thought, you know, yeah, let me just go and shake the money tree at the bottom of my garden, you know, and no problem. And I'm happy to have a punt on this. I'm not a gambler, and no one's got a money tree. And at that time, I just felt that it really was a gamble, and it's not something I was prepared to do, especially because there was no guarantees. And at best, I was being told that, you know, I might get a mention. There was no sort of talk about having an advertorial. So there's a difference between the journalist saying so-and-so has said such and such a comment, and having a nice big piece written about you. And so I started to go about figuring it out for myself. Now, I have to say, my initial brush with fame with the dating business, I had a leg up. So there's a guy on my circuit of friends, and I was at a birthday party, and we got talking, and I told him what I was up to. And he's actually the producer for TalkSport. And literally a week or so later, after that birthday party, something had come up in the news, and he wanted me to talk about dating in the workplace, because there was 2 tennis players who had just called off their engagement, and they wanted to talk about, you know, people who are dating and working together. So I got to go on TalkSport, and at that time I didn't even have Meet Your Match set up. I was going under a different name because it was to do with my events and my matchmaking. So I quickly bought the URL. I quickly threw together a website in the space of 2 hours, and I was on TalkSport Radio that evening. Now, for anybody out there that thinks that getting in the media is going to produce fame and fortune, you're absolutely wrong, because my phone was not ringing off the hook, I can assure you, but I had a really naff website that I put together in 2 hours. So I was really lucky to have had that. And then, let me think what happened. I then got a phone call from somebody who introduced me to a host who was looking for someone for their show, and they were specifically after someone for this topic. And I said, well, I know that person. So then I happened to speak to the host and say, you know, I can introduce you to this person for your show. And she said to me, you've got an amazing voice. What do you do? And have you done any radio? And I just said, well, I'm a dating coach. And yes, I have done some radio, actually. And I can't remember if I'd done the podcast at that point, but she said, we don't like our dating coach, and we'd like to invite you to come and try out for it. So I had 1.5 years of that. And then I wanted to get in the media, so get in the magazines and newspapers. And I spoke to a press agency, and we had an amazing story going, and they basically put together a story of Suzie Parkus, modern day hitch, helps thousands of singles find love and happiness. And that was a massive spread in the Daily Mail, and it literally just took off from there. And I just had the oomph, I guess, within myself, and the courage to be, you know, like, I can do this. And I just picked up the phone and I spoke to people. But I have to be honest, where it mainly came from, my success, was being of service to others. It wasn't about buy my stuff, and I certainly didn't have a website that was full of products. It was all about how can I be of service to your audience, and also with the journalists, it's how can I be of service to you? What kind of story are you looking for, and what can I contribute? So that's how my success has sort of skyrocketed, because I've always thought about the other person and not so much about myself, but I've always been considerate about the story that I'm involved with, because, you know, I want it to represent me in a good light as well. The other thing that happened was I went for the Dating Awards, and I was nominated for Best Newcomer, so I got involved in that. And because I was part of the first wave of the Dating Awards, there was a lot of press and media around it, and I had lots of people finding me when they were doing searches for dating and relationship coaches. And so people have found me as well. So when you appear in the media, when people put in search terms, then also articles come up, as you know, like when you're searching for anything, newspaper articles rank. And so I've ranked in articles for certain searches, and that's how people have found me. And then, you know, Channel 5, for example, they called me and they asked me to be on the news because they found me through certain channels. So it kind of works both ways. And I feel like PR is the gift that keeps on giving. And that's kind of what's happened. And I've kind of got pimped out as well by the journalists. So I remember getting phone calls from someone saying, "Hi, is that Suzie? This is so-and-so from such and such. You work with my colleague at so-and-so publication, and they said you're really good. Would you mind doing a story for us?" And I know that the journalists and the producers and the researchers all talk. And so I've, you know, as much as I pimp people out, I've also been pimped out within the media as well. And what's also happened is I've got so friendly now with a lot of journalists, producers and researchers that they now come to me and ask me, who do I know that's an expert for stories they're working on, in order to help them. So I've created this whole network now within the media. So it started off as me just doing my own thing, and as I said, it's just become this gift that keeps on giving. And I've refined my approach as well. I've never done a press release. I wouldn't even know how to put a press release together. I've never paid for a press release to go out, and it's just this approach that I've sort of curated. And I've now been a celebrated person and had an editorial, but I've also been sort of quoted quite a lot as well by all the local, national and international press, and now I've done local, national and international radio, and I've also gone after podcasts as well. So I've been really lucky to have gone on Entrepreneur on Fire, and that's quite a story because John said yes to me in about 5 minutes, and we joked about it when I interviewed him back in March. So I hope that gives you a bit of an overview about where it came from. And you know, I wasn't a PR person. In fact, I do have a degree in communication studies, and part of that was music journalism, but they certainly didn't teach you anything about what I've been doing to get PR. And yeah, just like everything I've done in my business, I've kind of learned it for myself, and it's been trial and error.
I liked what you said about values and giving to people, because I've noticed when you switch to how can you help people, how can you serve, that is when you do see the results. So that's a great point you touched on about values. And also, you've interviewed some pretty amazing people, haven't you, Suzie?
Yeah, so I how can I put this? In personal development, they talk about selling an idea forward, and I put together my own podcast as well. And I've been really, really lucky to have had Bob Doyle from The Secret, Peter Sage, who is dubbed as the UK's Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson and I connected over being on my podcast. And I've had Matt Boggs, who's a #1 sort of YouTuber on dating. I've had Alexa Martinez, and yeah, I've had all sorts of people, like really notable people, for my podcast. And I just put it out there and said, this is my vision, this is my dream, and this is the kind of content that I want to share. Would you be part of my mission? And I've been really, really lucky that they've said yes.
Marianne Williamson, that's absolutely amazing. I'm a big fan of her work, so that's absolutely awesome, Suzie.
Yeah, and I kind of nabbed a VIP seat as well to hear her speak. And so I was in the front 2 rows, and then I kind of nudged my way into the front of the book signing queue as well, although I was a VIP guest of the organizer. So I said to them, look, you know, I haven't got a book to sign, but I just really want to quickly ask her if she'll be on my show. So they threw me to the front of the queue, and I just basically said, Marianne, loved your talk, and obviously made it really relevant. And I quoted some of her content that I just heard for the last couple of hours. And I just said to her, I'd really, really love to interview you on Tears to Triumph. Would you, you know, be open to being on my podcast? And her daughter at the time was her EA. So then I spoke to her daughter, and, you know, things kind of took off from there. And you've just got to have the balls, basically, to go after what you want. And, you know, however many no's it takes, if it does take some no's, just got to keep going and say, this is what I want. And, you know, if Marianne said no at that time, there's nothing to say that I wouldn't meet her at another juncture and ask her again. because at that point in time, I mean, she was really busy. There was like 500 and something people that had traveled in from wherever to hear her speak. So again, one of my things I always tell people when they're going after PR or going after guests is you just got to keep asking and trying, and you know, with every no, there'll be another yes.
And the right people will come to you, and like you say, other circumstances you may meet again somewhere else, so whatever's meant to be will be.
Yeah, and also it's a very small world. So let's just look at personal development for an example. Marianne Williamson knows a lot of people that I know. So if I really wanted, I could go through one of my contacts and say, you know, I've lost touch with Marianne, or I've heard her speak, or, you know, she's got this book out and I'd really love to hear her take on it for my podcast. Is there any chance we could do an introduction? And then what normally happens is someone will say, well, can you help me organize that introduction? And you know, you'll again, you know, be of value. You'll help organize the sort of the overview of the introduction and what it is that you want to have put forward, and then they'll share it. It's almost like a LinkedIn introduction, you know, but you've got to help people. And that's the other thing. It's not just about going, can you help me? I really want Marianne on my show, for example. It's, you know, I want to be of service to her and I want to be of service to you. Let me shape the introduction, and, you know, you can tweak it to sound more like you. But would you mind sending this email out for me? And that's, again, another thing that I teach people, because that's how I've opened doors, by being of service all the time.
Very great stories there. What an amazing journey you've been on, Suzie.
Yeah, as I said, I never thought that this would be my vocation. And as I said, my vocation is changing anyway. You know, I'm only expanding on what I do now. But if you asked me, you know, 17 years ago what I was going to be doing, I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur, let alone have had 5 businesses, which have, of course, all given me lots of knowledge and ideas and yeah, just lots of information. You know, we're forever, as we said, a work in progress. So everything that I've learned over the last 17 years is what I put into practice, and I'm still learning how to hone my craft and hone my craft so I can help others do the same.
And when you did my publicity profile, you really dug in deep, like the amount of time we spent on the phone, and it was over what I'd paid for. You really did put the time in, and it didn't matter about the money. You really dig deep and really spent that time to get a really good profile together for me. So I really appreciate that as well.
But I loved it, you know. So the thing is, it was like, and I can recall it as clear as day. I can remember where I was sitting when we were doing it. I think in total, we probably spent about 8 hours backwards and forwards over it. I mean, it really did take a long time. It was a full-time job, effectively. You know, it was a whole day. But there was lots of sections that we had to fill in, and we had to make sure that the information that we were slotting into the long bio and the short bio, and I'm trying to remember what else there was. There was your speaker experience and all that kind of stuff, and you didn't have any at the time. So we had to kind of shape it in such a way that you weren't blagging, but that you had all the right content for those certain areas, so that when you met up with anybody that was looking for a speaker, whatever it might be, you know, a journalist, a speaker book, or whatever, you had all that information to hand. And I remember you telling me your story so fast, and I had to like pull the reins on you so many times and go, wait, hang on a minute, you know, that's a really golden nugget. Can you just like slow down a minute, and can you just tell me a little bit more, and can you elaborate a bit more? And you were just a bit like, huh? Because I think when we tell our story so many times, we kind of forget. We kind of just want to go from A to B and be like, right, well, I've done it now. I've told you my story. And I'd be lying if I remember the points at which I stopped you exactly. But I do remember just having to slow you right down and asking you, how did that feel? And how did that come about? And what happened next? And just really helping me to connect the dots better, so that I could pull out that story and then create a bio that, as you know, read like a story. And when I show people, they feel like they know you. They feel like I've taken them on a journey of this guy who, you know, started here, and now he's just, you know, gone way up in terms of his outlook on life, and up leveled his life and his dreams and his ambitions. And people really do feel like they have a sense of who you are after reading your bio. And that's, I guess, the whole point of it.
Thank you.
Let me ask, that's all right. But let me ask you, when I was interviewing you for your bio, how did it feel? Because I don't know if you've shared your story with someone the way you had to share it with me. I don't know if someone has had to slow you down and pull out the information that I pulled out of you. It must have been a new experience for you as well.
It was a little bit like therapy actually, because I'm used to telling my story, but it's actually going into those emotions of the story, and really digging deep into how it made me feel. So it was a little bit like having therapy really, but as well we went from not knowing each other to I really felt like I knew you after one phone call. We really connected, didn't we?
Well, I definitely got to know you, that's for sure.
So yeah, no, it was a great experience, and it was nice how much time you took actually pulling all those bits of information out to make it the best that you could. Because at the time, like you say, I didn't have much experience in speaking. I'd done a few interviews, I'd done lots of training, but as for getting up and delivering a speech, that was what I was aiming to do, and the publicity profile really helped me with that. So I've got you to thank for that, Susie, for doing such a good job there.
And I thank you. And the other great thing about it, as we said, the other day on the phone, is that you can splice it and dice it as much as you want. If it's you need information to go in your book, if you are a speaker for somebody and they just want a short bio to read out, especially when you go on the radio, they just want a short snippet of who you are. And now you can pull out that information, and you don't have to kind of every time someone asks you for information, oh, what am I going to say to this person? You've got it there. You've got the long bio, you've got the short bio. If anyone says, what are your credentials? You can literally copy and paste it. And it really is your personal sort of speaker CV, if you like. And so when people say to you, have you been in the media? You can go, right, copy and paste. Yes, this is where I've been. And it's something that you can keep with you and expand upon all the time. Because obviously, since we've done it, there's now so much more that you can add in terms of your credentials. So where those headings are about, where have you spoken, who have you written for, all those other things, you can now keep just padding it out so that it's constantly up to date, just like a CV.
And it did bring me in a lot of opportunities as well. So that was great. It did what it was meant to, as in getting me more speaking opportunities, being guest blogger on platforms. So that was that was great as well. So thank you for that, Susie. I'm here to thank you today.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're welcome. And it really was such a pleasure. But I tell you something, I remember saying to Claire, who introduced us, and I said it to you on the phone as well. I was like, what do I do with this guy? Like, literally, he's just dropped out of the sky and he's got these aspirations. And how am I supposed to write something about someone and fill in all these headings when he's got no experience? But actually, your life experience, you having been to the University of Life, is amazing. And from that, I really was able to pull out so much information in terms of the kind of talks you could do. Because I remember, you kind of showed up and said to me, oh, I want to do talks about X, Y, and Z. And I said, yeah, but, what about this experience that you had? Why don't you offer that as a talk? And, we kind of just bantered backwards and forwards and played ping pong around what would position you in the best light and what would give you the opportunity to express yourself the most. Because if you only had like 2 topics for your talk, then you're really limiting yourself. But your story is so amazing that I think we came out with, several talks that you could do off the back of your talk. Off the back of your bio, and yeah, and it was just working together on that really, and helping you to showcase yourself as the best version of yourself, so that when you do speak to those people, they can have a menu, if you like, of things that you can talk about.
Yes, I so agree. And I do remember that I went from just saying I could do 1 or 2 talks to, well, actually, we can do this, we can do this. And I was thinking, I've got about 6 talks here now.
It was amazing. And I find that, to me, you're like a diamond in the rough, because you were just kind of like, I'm here to show up to have my bio done today, almost like someone who's having a photo shoot done, right? And you're like, here's my story, and this is it. And then I was just able to pick it apart and mold it, and you were so open-minded to the feedback that I gave you as well. So for me, you were actually, even though I was really petrified to do your bio in the first place, to me, you were actually like the perfect person to work with, because I really got to help you shape your journey from the get-go. And for me, when I see you on Facebook saying, you know, I'm speaking here and I've got this opportunity and my book's live now, and I just see where you're going and how your story is just growing and growing and growing, and also what you're able to offer is growing, because now I'm sure that list of talks is probably 15 to 20 titles, where before we started with 2.
I'm really enjoying my journey as well, and I think that's a really important point, is to enjoy every step of the journey. So I really make sure I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I've found since I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm not stressing over things, I'm finding the opportunities are coming to me more without me having to feel like I'm just stressing over things. But yeah, it's just so exciting at the moment. I mean, this year alone, I'm literally all over the country speaking, all in different areas.
So what are the talks that you've got coming up? So your talks for this year so far, what are the topics that you're talking about, and where are you speaking?
At the moment, I'm sticking with my main keynote speech, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. And I'm literally in Newcastle, Maidstone, uh, Guildford. I'm doing an interesting talks. I was at a TEDx audition yesterday, so fingers crossed. So I'm literally all over, but I mean, at the moment, I am sticking to my What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger, because I've really honed in on it, and I've really got I can really deliver it well. But I'm just in the process of writing out a new speech to be
Amazing.
delivering in the next few months as well.
So I was thinking, actually, I've said how amazing your story is. We haven't even talked about it. And I'm looking at the screen and I can see quite a lot of my crowd have popped on to have a look. So I'd really love for you to kind of share an overview of your story so that my people can actually get to know who you are.
Oh, thank you. So I was severely bullied at primary school about my sexuality, about the way I looked. So I used to get called big chin, big ears, gay, puff, and it led to me having really, really low self-esteem, no confidence, and my childhood I was quite lonely. And I was definitely a little bit obsessive compulsive. I had an auntie that blinked a lot. I couldn't stop blinking. And when I went to secondary school, the bullying got a lot worse. And later in life, it led to me having a lot of cosmetic procedures. So I had a hair transplant, a chin reduction, my ears pinned back, all my teeth straightened. And it was like the wounds had healed, but the scars were still there. Is that right? The wounds were, yes, the wounds were
Yeah, yeah.
healed, but the scars were still there. And in my early 20s, I became addicted to crack cocaine and heroin. So I had hit a real rock bottom, and my life faced tragedy. I went out clubbing with friends, tried a new party drug, and the next minute I woke up in hospital. My chest had all been shaven, where shock pads had been used on me to bring me back to life, bruises all up my arm where adrenaline had been pumped into me. And that was a real low point of my life, and I slowly started to turn my life around from that point. I got kicked out of the family home, moved away from all the associations, all the people I was hanging around with, and I slowly started to turn my life around. I set up in business at 30 with my freelance hairstylist business, and I decided I really want to share my story and inspire people, that it doesn't matter what background you come from, what your present, where, what your background, past circumstances, where you are right now, you can still do whatever you want and follow your dreams and make a success of yourself. And that's what brought me into public speaking. And over this last year and a half, it's really taken a shape. So in brief, that is my story, Suzie.
Yeah, and I remember it well, and I also remember you telling me as well that when you were getting into the hairdressing, you had someone who was quite, you know, high up in hairdressing give you an opportunity as well. So it's not just, you know, you went and worked for the local hairdresser, but I know you had support for some really good people in the industry as well.
I worked for the top names in the industry. So as soon as I started hairdressing training, I was working for the one of the biggest names in the UK for hairdressing, shampoo range in Boots. They used to appear on GMTV, and I was literally working on the salon floor with these people. I've worked with the biggest colourist in the UK. So I have worked with the top names in the industry. So again, with my hairdressing, even though I had a drug addiction and I started phoning in sick, all through my drug addiction, I carried on working for these top name hairdressers. So that was a really, really great part of my life where I did build self-confidence and I gained some great skills in hairdressing. So I've been really lucky to have worked with some of the biggest names in the hairdressing industry.
And it just goes to show, there are people out there who support others and believe in them. And I think sometimes people look at others and go, oh, it happens to them and never to me. But it's about applying yourself and also, I think, focusing yourself. But whatever it is that you're asking for and wanting for, it's got to come from the right place. You see, if I put myself out there and I said, I want to be a hairdresser, and I walked into Hobbs, they'd probably laugh at me because I wouldn't say it with any conviction because, it's not my vocation. And so I think that obviously when you were applying for that stuff, you're applying for those opportunities and you were getting the support from those people, it was your enthusiasm and your abilities that shone through, and that's why you got the support and the doors opening for you.
I think whatever you want to do in life, if it was hairdressing, like I wanted to be a motivational speaker, I wanted to be an author, as soon as you want to do something, you can do it. It's just going to take you time to learn the craft, get the skills, and to make it. But some people see a big mountain in front of them. And it's all about just taking such little steps consistently every day, working on your mindset, doing little daily tasks. And over time, whatever you want to do, you can do it. If you want to learn to play the piano, if you want to become a doctor, anything is open to anybody. You just have to have that strong belief that you can do it. And I live by that. And so many people talk themselves out of things, and I always say, don't talk yourself out of it, talk yourself into it.
No, definitely. And I've just seen there's someone that's just popped on the live, and that's the person I was talking to who gave me the opportunity to have the radio show, to be the dating coach. So it's really nice that she's just popped on and to watch us. But can I ask you to be really honest about something?
You can.
When you were starting out and you and I first met and I did your bio for you, it's not, it's right for me to say basically you didn't have a pot of gold to work with, because I think that there's this misconception that when you want to go and start a new vocation, or I don't know, you want to set out in business, that you need to have tons and tons of money. And I think it does two things. On the one hand, people think that they need to have maybe a rubbish website, or they can get away with having a rubbish website. And actually you can have a really good website for little money these days if you know how. Or they kind of wait until they've got the money. And I think I just want you to share about where you were at when we met, and how money really hasn't been the thing that's either propelled you or held you back, because you're neither rich nor poor, but yet you've had this amazing experience today. And I think it'd be really nice to talk about that actually from your perspective.
If it was about the money, I would have given up a long time ago. And whatever you want, never let money stop you, because you find circumstances in life, things come to you when you're in the right mindset and you're taking the activities. So when we met was it a year or a year and a half ago when you did my publicity profile, time's flying.
A year and a half ago, I think even nearly 2 years actually.
Yes. No, I didn't have a pot of gold. I had a strong will that I wanted to do something and I would achieve it. I never let circumstances hold me back. And you can do so much on social media, which is free. I've also invested a lot of money in myself, in my own personal development. I've invested over £15,000 in myself. I drive a BMW. I had my own house, so I wouldn't say I was poor, but I definitely didn't have a pot of gold. And there are times where I have had to struggle through, but I just show up every day, and people around you will support you, not financially, but people around you will give you wisdom, they will give you knowledge, they will give you support, and it's just about not waiting for the money to come, just being that person you want to be now and knowing that the money will come later down the line.
And you know what, that's really important, because I keep hearing that message all the time. People are waiting to show up as that vision that they've got over here when they arrive. But when are you ever going to arrive? Like, you need to just believe it and want it so much, because when you really want it, you become it.
Definitely.
And it's a really strange notion, because I had to get over it myself. You know, I had to say, well, I've got this big dream and this big vision, and I'll wait to arrive to be that person. And actually, as luck would have it, I was just putting myself out there so much and speaking to the right people that I kind of became it anyway. But we do hold ourselves back. It's, you know, this will happen when, and it's like, no, it will happen now, as long as you are coming from the right place and you're applying yourself. And one of the things I've noticed with you, because obviously you and I have communicated quite a lot since we were put in touch to do your bio, is that you help people a lot. I feel like you keep your eyes open and your ears to the ground, and you know, you've tagged me over time, and I've done the same for you, and you've told me what it is that you're looking for. So that's really helped me to keep my eyes open and my ears to the ground, so that I can offer you up for opportunities or send you stuff when you need it. And I think people are afraid to ask, but everyone's so busy starring in their own movie. You know, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, we are effectively the star of our own movie, and we're so taken with ourselves all the time, and we're so conscientious about what we're doing, and we're so busy being a mom and a daughter and whatever we are, and a son and a husband and whatever, and we don't think about other people and their needs. But that's not to say we don't care. But the way to help yourself, which I know that you've been doing, and that's also part of your success, is by telling people, hey, I'm here, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I need help with. So if by any chance said thing comes across your radar, can you let me know? And I think that's been really helpful, and that is part of PR. Everyone thinks that PR is getting in the media and getting rich and famous, which I told you before is not really a thing. You know, that's kind of safe for the celebrities. But you can do your own successful PR by actually doing what you do, which is being a really humble, open, and personable individual who basically says, this is me and this is what I need. And if by any chance you can help me forward with this, I'd really appreciate it. So you've basically sown the seed, so that when someone comes across an opportunity, they can help you. It's almost like, you know, when you say, I want a red car, and all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. You just need to help your friends and your family and your network see your red car. And then that's how you'll also be able to open doors without having to do it yourself and by yourself.
I'm definitely a giver, and I've got really good values. I believe in loyalty, honesty. My values are determination, motivation, inspiration, and it's living to those values every day. And I don't give for it to come back, but if you do give, people are willing to help you back. So I'm very big on being a giver. Also, I do notice the world is very dog eat dog, every man for themselves. And I really hold a strong belief that collaboration, not competition, everyone working together, everyone will thrive. So for me, I'm really, it's just in my nature to be a giver and not to be too self-centered. Obviously, I do like a bit of attention, but I never let my ego overtake. And I like to stay humble. I'll never change who I am to please anyone else. As long as I'm happy with that, I'm living by my values, that I'll always be that person. Why should I change?
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And I think knowing who you are is half the battle, because so many people are maneuvering themselves all the time, you know, to fit in with, I don't know, wherever their journey's going or the crowd that they're hanging out with. And you end up having an identity crisis. And also, people just don't know who you are, because one day you're this person and one day that you're that person, and they don't know what's going on with you. And I think it's really important, and it's really awesome that you know who you are at your core, and staying in your lane and owning it, whether people like it or not. And the other thing that you mentioned as well is sort of karma. So I know this as well, actually. My mum told me years ago, I didn't even know what karma was, but she said to me, you know, Suze, you're always giving to people. And it's really interesting that whenever you come up across a sticky spot, people come out the woodwork to help you. And it's not always the people that I've helped, but I do think it's this karmic currency. You know, as you put out into the world will pay you back when you need it and when you ask for it as well. So it's not about looking at other people and going, oh my God, they're getting all the success, but it's like, well, how much help are they putting out? How much are they giving to other people? How much are they supporting other people? And therefore it's, you know, coming back in return. It's not just about looking at the picture and then going, oh, they're lucky and I'm not. It really is about this karmic currency and thinking about how you're showing up in the world. And, you know, are you leading with contribution all the time?
What I've learnt as well is I don't compare myself to other people. I used to, and that holds your journey back so much. If you just focus on yourself, and if you are looking at other people, just look and think how amazing they're doing and want some of it, and look at them for inspiration. As soon as you start looking at people and envying them and feeling jealous, that really will sabotage you. And also, if you start talking negatively about people, that will come back on you so much. It's all about focusing on yourself and looking at others to inspire you to do better. Never look and compare yourself to other people. Only compete with yourself and try and become better than you were yesterday. And I've found since I've done that, that's where I've started to really get some momentum in my journey.
Well, you definitely are a very go-giving, positive person, and that's always been my experience of you. But I was thinking, you know, Tony Robbins says success leaves breadcrumbs. So just like what you said, rather than looking at people and feeling envious and having the green-eyed monster for whatever reason, or just thinking they've got it easy or they've got loads of money, whatever it is, why don't you either reach out to them and say, you know, for example, Mark, I've watched you, I've watched your journey, and I see that you're speaking all the time, and I really would love to be a speaker, and I'd love to know, like, how does one make it happen? Like, what's been your journey, and what's been successful for you? Number one, you're showing an interest in somebody else, and you're not basically making it all about me. People love to talk about themselves, as we know. And it gives you an opportunity to A, talk about yourself, which is a need that we've all got, and B, you're actually imparting your wisdom and saying, look, this is the journey that I took, and if I'm honest with you, this is what's worked and what hasn't. So you're actually allowing yourself to now be the teacher to the student. And people don't need to assume that success has landed in people's laps. I mean, I've had this conversation before when I did a previous live, that I've had to learn all this stuff, and I've had plenty of failures, but I've failed forward every single time. And it's my failures that allow me to be a good teacher to my clients, because you're basically paying me to help get the fast forward version and sort of skip over the potholes, because I've already fallen in the pothole and had to climb my way out. And I think that's what people need to do, rather than judging or bitching or assuming. Just reach out to people. You know, I had a lovely conversation today with somebody who's part of sort of mental health awareness. He's a mental health coach, and his story is incredible. And he reached out to me because we've been crossing paths and he wanted to know more. And people just need to be open to sort of, you know, putting the kettle on, you know, having a cup of tea, putting up a chair and going, yeah, I'll get to know you and I'll share information with you. And no one is higher or lower than anybody else. We're all on this journey, and we're just maybe, you know, running it at a different pace, or we're on a different page, and that's it. So it really is about, as you said, looking for inspiration and motivation from people who are where you want to be, whether they're 5 steps ahead or 50. I personally wouldn't reach out to Tony Robbins and go, you know, I really want to follow in your footsteps, and how do I do that? Because I just feel like I'm at the beginning of my marathon, and he's already at the end of the sprint to some degree. So I feel there's too much of a distance between us. And so it really is, I think, better to reach out to people who are within reaching distance. And that's like with coaching, because obviously I know that you're now coaching people to be a speaker. And I think it's really nice when you can figuratively reach out to someone and they're within reaching distance of holding your hand and grabbing your hand, because it's less intimidating as well. And I think it's really empowering, and it just feels so nice as a coach when you can guide somebody to where you're at, and they'll either grow with you, or hopefully the whole point of a coach is actually to give them so much lift that they surpass you and they go to the next person. And that is when I feel as a coach we've really achieved for our client, when they've actually come to surpass us. Because it's not a race, and there's no competition, as you said, and you're kind of, you know, do this on the journey to where you want to be. You know, one person will be further behind or further in front than the other. So it is really about finding the people around you that inspire you and motivate you, and ask them to be your coach, or ask them to be your mentor in some way, or at least ask the question, how did you do it? Because I look at you, and we had a conversation the other day, right? And I speak as well, but the speaking I do is completely different to you. And we had a conversation about how have you gone about getting these opportunities, and you've really kindly helped make some introductions. And it's just about asking and being humble, which is something that is so beautiful about you, and you know what you've always been. And all the time that I've known you, you are a really humble, giving person.
Great points there, and you've really touched on it. People like helping people, Suzie, but I would never dream of going and asking for help to somebody unless I felt like I'd contributed to them. So with you, we've got that relationship. You've helped me, I help you. So I do think it has to be two-sided a little bit. It's no good just reaching out and saying, oh, can you tell me how you've done this? And you've never even spoken to the person before. It goes back to building relationships with people, and really getting to know people and building good, strong connections and friendships. And then people will be happy to help you. And also, I think some people don't want to invest in themselves. Now, I wouldn't have been getting all these opportunities coming to me if I hadn't have done a lot of personal development, gone through loads of different coaches, and invested over £15,000 in my own personal development journey. You do have to invest in yourself to get where you want to get to. And you mentioned my speaking course. The reason I set up a speaking program is because I didn't know anything about the speaking industry. I have had to face so many obstacles, and it's a hard industry to get into. I've gone from having no profile to becoming an author, having a speaking program, speaking all over the UK, setting up all different communities, and I faced those obstacles, and that was where I knew I can really help people. I can really help people to start in their speaking journey, or if it's an established speaker that's feeling stuck and not making much progress, that I knew that was where I can really help people. So again, I've got my coaching program, but I know it's really going to be serving people and helping people, because I know how hard it is in the industry to make progress and get results.
So it's really interesting because, you know, for me, it's the same. When you said to me at the outset, you know, how did I get into PR? And I never really got to tell you how it is that I'm getting into what I'm doing now. But when I decided to stop doing the dating coaching, people have been watching me for ages getting the media, right? And they've all said, how have you done it? How have you done it? So for me, it felt like a natural progression to show people how I've done it. And it's really interesting because when I was speaking to someone recently, and I was telling them about my journey and how I teach and what I teach, and I'm thinking about what you just said, they said, you know, Suze, you're a practitioner. And I would never use that word unless it was maybe like, I don't know, medical professional or something. And he said, but you're a practitioner because you practice what you preach, and you haven't read a book and you've learned it for yourself. So I feel like you're the same. You're a practitioner of what you teach. You haven't just gone and read a blog and said, hey, you know, I'm going to turn up and be like the speaking coach expert person today. It's actually, I have spent, 2 years now, putting yourself on the speaker circuit, and you've taken notes of what's working and what isn't. And now, like me, you're holding people's hands to help them avoid the potholes so that they can fast track their way from A to B.
Can I ask you a little bit about where you're going now? What's the future for Suzie Parkus? What are you planning right now? What's coming up?
What's coming up? Okay. So I had in mind that I was going to do a PR accelerator, right? So one day of 17 years worth of PR know-how, from what is PR to, business etiquette, to getting in the media and how we communicate and our personal branding and all this jazz. And then actually someone said to me, my God, Suze, that is quite a journey and it's quite a lot to digest. So what I've decided is I'm actually going to break up that accelerator program into bite-sized chunks so people can have it a la carte. So I am going to be teaching my 17 years worth of PR and business, intertwined, but it's going to be chunked up into bite-sized amounts so that it's easy to digest and implement, and you can kind of pick the elements that you want for yourself. So that's one thing that's on the radar. Friday before last, I'm really excited to tell you that I started my book journey. So somebody
Yeah.
came to London. I know. And it's not the book that I've been working on since 2015 either. It's something completely different. Because as some people know, I've been through a bit of a journey the last 3 years. I had a life situation that happened 3 years ago, and it really has changed my life, and I'm really out the other end of it now in so many different ways. And as I share my story, people have been getting moved, and one person in particular said to me, Suzie, you've got to share this story in a wider fashion in order to impact more people. And so he offered to come here, and so Friday before last he came here and we recorded my journey. So I started speaking about what's happened the last 3 years and my epiphanies that I've had and the learnings, and just kind of helping people understand what's happened. So that's the book. And I'm going to start speaking from stage and actually sharing the story. So I already speak anyway about stuff to do with relationships, and I talk all the time about PR and how you can implement PR in your business. But this is the personal stuff. This is really me showing up and being open and vulnerable and sharing the story to enlighten and motivate other people to be the best version of themselves, and in order to avoid the stuff, hopefully, that's kind of happened to me, or happened for me, I should say. And it's an amazing course that's coming out. It's called the Impact Accelerator. It's helping you to create impact in your life, love, and business. And it's very much personal development, and it kind of leads on very nicely from the book, because I've obviously gone through a huge change in my life, and I've done a lot of personal development in the last 11 years, but more so in the last 3 years, and even more so in the last 3 months. And I really feel like I've learned a lot about what it is to be authentic, about what it is to be you and connect with you in every facet of your life, life, love, and business, to understand the best communication skills, to really connect with people and allow them to connect with you, and so much more. So the Impact Accelerator is really about allowing you to shine as bright as you can, have the impact that you want to have. It's not just for entrepreneurs, but it's about having a life that's on purpose and truly connected in your life, love, and business, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're employed. So there's quite a lot coming out right now, and also I've got my interview series that's coming out, which this is kind of part of. And then I've got my own Go Giving community as well, which is a community where it's not buy my stuff. It's about, what do you need and how can I help you? And it's a community of people who just want to support the forward growth and momentum and dreams of other people, because as we said before, it's all about the karmic currency, and as we help others, people come and help us as well. But it's not giving to gain, it's about giving because we want to give, and we know that when we give, it will come back to us when the time is right. So there's quite a lot of projects going on at the moment, but I can tell you they're not all happening simultaneously, otherwise I'd definitely be biting off more than I can chew. So that's kind of what's coming up on the horizon for me.
You've got a lot going on there, and I know you're doing a few more speaking gigs as well, because we've spoken about those. So I'll definitely want to come and see you at some point speaking on stage. And what stood out for me there was, like, even though you've got all this going on, it's about the balance as well. So health, mind, body, career. Some people just focus on business and let their health suffer. And it's really important to get the balance right of mind, business, health, relationships, and don't let your health suffer. Make sure there's some balance there. So that really stood out to me, that you're getting the balance of everything right. Even though you've got so much going on, you can still balance things out so that you've still got some time to work on yourself and still look after your own emotions and your own health. So that really stood out to me too.
Thank you. Do you know what's really funny is everyone says to me, "Oh my God, you're so busy, you're so busy." And I choose to be as busy as I want to be. That's the truth. You know, to me, this isn't working right now. This is fun, right? But it's work time. It's between 9 to 5. But the really important thing about getting loads of stuff done in a short space of time is prioritizing and outsourcing. And that's something that I learned a long time ago when I had my digital agency, is outsourcing, and stop trying to be the jack of all trades, because then you'll be the master of none. I have now sort of arrived in this position where I know how it is that I want to show up, and I want to show up as the coach and the mentor and the trainer and the facilitator. And I don't want to be the marketing arm of my person. I don't my business rather. I don't want to be the admin person in my business. And it doesn't have to cost a fortune to get support. There's lots of different ways to do it. You know, we can get support from anywhere in the world at different price ranges. And I've really learned to delegate. So for someone who used to be a bit of a control freak, I've learned the art of delegating for my own well-being. And part of what you just said about the balance, well, that's part of my 3-year story. I believe that because my life didn't have proper balance, that life happened, you know, not to me, but for me, basically, because I was heading down a really dangerous path in the fast lane, and I'd really kind of lost sight of myself and the bigger picture, and I was becoming quite disconnected. And that's why I'm quite passionate about teaching this to other people through the Impact Accelerator, so that we really can always show up as the best version of ourselves, which also includes being energized, you know, not exhausted by life or whatever it is that we're working on. So it's really, really important to have that balance. And I teach that to my business and publicity clients anyway, because I don't want to work with burnt out people. You know, when you're working with up and coming speakers, you don't want to work with someone who's burnt out, because when they come to deliver an example talk for you, it's impossible. You know, it's almost like you need to send them home to go to sleep because they're so burnt out. So we have to look after ourselves and look after our clients. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think as entrepreneurs, but also as busy professionals, we really don't address the work-life balance all that often. And it's only when we get sick or something happens to us and we actually are forced to stop that we reevaluate and go, cool, you know, I haven't had a break like this in ages. It's because we've just been on this merry-go-round and we forgot to get off and have some social time, or to actually sleep enough, or, you know, to enjoy our hobbies. And it's those things that make us a person. And if you're not sort of feeding your soul, then you don't have as much creativity as the people who are taking time off. You don't actually have much to say for yourself either. So it's really important. But how about you? You know, so we know that you've got your book. So your book is out there now, which is amazing.
Yeah, to create the life you desire. Little promotion there.
No, it's fine. I actually was going to get my copy out, you know, and be like, so we know you've got your book, and you've started the speaker training, but I'd actually really like to know more about the speaker training, because you only mentioned it to me in passing. I don't know if it's for a particular group, you know, that you're targeting, or a certain interval that they're at in their journey. I don't know if that's important.
It's for established speakers or aspiring speakers that are feeling stuck in their journey. So if they're feeling like they're not making any progress, they're not getting publicity, they're not getting exposure, they don't know how to get onto stages. I know what that feels like. You feel stressed, you get anxiety, depression, you do look at other people and compare yourself to other people, it can affect your confidence. And you see all the other big speakers and they're doing it, and it can make you feel inferior. So any speakers that want to start to make progress and to start to get results in their speaking business, or also if they want to start to monetize their business, as in getting their products and their services together. I help them to set up their very first event, to get them on the first stage. I hold their hand in all of that process. These are all steps what I've done. I help them setting up their keynote. I help them to practice the keynote to get them ready for when they're on the stage. I open up my network of people to them to put them in touch with all the people that they need. I show them how to network. Literally, I wished I had this when I started a couple of years ago, because I have had to learn it all for myself and cross all these obstacles. So I've just literally put it into an 8-week course to become an established speaker, to get results fast and really start to make progress, and to become an expert in the speaking industry, and mainly and importantly to monetize their business with products and services to offer. And I also help them to be really clear on who their niche market is, their target market. Some people like to get their message out there, but they don't know exactly who their message is going to. So I really key on and get it niched down so they know exactly who that message is going to, which will help with their products, their services, and it will also help them with talking to their audience, exactly who they're helping. So that's what my course is. Everything you need to do to get progress and to get results fast and to start earning an income within the speaking industry.
Which is really important, because actually, you know, I mentioned that mental health person before who's a speaker, and he actually said to me, you know, it's all right getting up on stage and sharing your story, because most people, you know, it comes from having a story. No one just wakes up one day and goes, I want to speak. You know, something has motivated you from an experience. And he said to me, you need to have the goal in mind. So you don't speak for the sake of speaking, but you go, what do I want people to take away? And I think we need people to guide us. Otherwise, you know, we're not going to get the best results and the best outcome for the effort that we're putting in. And it's really important to have that support. You know, I'll be honest and say I never had any help in any facet of my business. And as successful as I may be, and, you know, however people judge success, that's up to them. I've definitely taken the slow boat to China, and who knows where I could be, you know, right now, had I invested in coaching and mentoring and whatever else. But then, like you, that's why we've got such a breadth of knowledge, because we've tripped over and we've fallen down the potholes on our way to where we are. And that's how we're able to now hold people's hands and say, oh, you know, mind your step, because if you do that, you're going to, you know, fall down the pothole. But definitely having the support from someone who's been there before is invaluable in order to get there faster, but make the best impression as well. Because, you know, I know from the PR stuff that impressions count for everything. And for example, I'm sure that you've got a specific way for when you do a reach out exercise, basically for a speaker's gig. So I haven't done that. So I wouldn't even know how to put myself forward to be a speaker. Yes, okay, I put myself forward twice for a TED talk, but anything other than that, I wouldn't know what the protocol is, because it's not within my remit. It's not what I've done, because my speaking opportunities have come through different means and methods. So it's really important to have someone like you around to hold people's hand and hold them accountable as well.
And the job of a coach is to take you from where you are to where you want to go in the quickest possible time. So always look at someone who is in front of you, who is doing what you want to do and is crossing the obstacles that you want to cross. And that's why I specifically set up for a speaking program, because that is what I've done the last couple of years and faced all of those obstacles. And I'm so passionate about it, Suzie. So do what you're passionate about.
Oh my God, 100%, right? You know, whatever we do, it's got to be an extension of who we are. Otherwise, people can feel it, because people buy people, and it's all about the energy exchange. And I know how passionate you are about everything that you do. In fact, I don't think there's anything that you do for the sake of it. And what you do is, you know, a very small, bespoke sort of collection of things, but you throw your heart and soul into them, and you can feel it, you know, when you're talking about stuff, when you're communicating about your things, your passion is actually what really drives people to you. And that's the same for everybody. But I was going to say, you know, you said about the role of a coach. It's also really important that you have a value match and also a personality match, because I can tell you I've had clients where we've not been on the same page with our values, and where maybe our personalities have clashed a little bit. And I know it can definitely impact the outcome of what it is you're trying to achieve. And I know that it can make you feel a bit resentful as well about the time and money involved. So what I want to ask you is, how does one identify who's a good match for them? What do you think, you know, goes into the decision making?
Yeah, I think when looking for a coach, just look, are they doing what it is that you want to do? Have they overcome the obstacles what you're facing? Do you know that person, or have other people worked with that person? Which I don't think that's majorly important, because it's all about your own personal experience with somebody. But definitely, are they in front of where you want to get to? Have they faced those obstacles, what you're trying to do? And get to know the person a little bit first as well. Build a relationship to see if you feel that you could both work well together.
So it really is almost like dating in a way. It's doing the dating dance and just making sure that by the third date that, you know, you've decided whether you're a good fit. Because you know, when you're investing your time and money in someone, as you said, you know, yours is 8 weeks, you're stuck with that person for 8 weeks effectively, and you've got to make sure that there is a really good chemistry match.
Definitely. And also the same for the coach as well. It's really important to not just take people as a client just to get money or for the sake of it. It's really important to think, can I really take that person to where they want to go? Can I really help them? And that's where values and honesty come in, which is what I'm really big on. And it's really about keying out who you can really help. So it's really important for the coach to be a bit picky too, not just the client.
Actually, do you know what? I think a question that lots of people should ask is, who's your typical client? Actually, I've got one of my coachy friends that's just popped on, and this is a conversation we've had recently. But, you know, why not interview the coach as well and say, who's your ideal client? Who do you enjoy working with? And what is the type of person that you work with? So you can make a decision for yourself and go, you know, I'm not sure I fit that avatar, basically. And it's not just about the coach making the decision, you know, about whether this is going to be a good relationship here. I think also the client needs to interview the coach as well.
Definitely. It has to be two-way
I
things.
think people
So
don't do it. Yeah, I think, but it's only just dawned on me now. I don't think I interview coaches, actually. I think I listen too much to the outcome. And it is really important to make sure you're a really good character match. So apart from the book, which is out, which people can buy from Amazon, right? Yeah. And apart from the course that you're doing, what other products and services have you got going on right now that people can tap into?
Okay, so I've got my book, Tips to Create the Life You Desire. I've got my 8-week coaching program for established speakers and coaches to build their business in public speaking. That's an 8-week program. I also do one-to-one coaching to empower self-confidence, overcome any stress, anxiety, and depression. I'll do that on an 8-week program, or I can break that down to 4 weeks. And I even do just a 1-hour power call as well, where you can really just help someone in business, whether that was for speaking, coaching, or whether it was for empowering self-confidence and overcoming any stresses, anxieties, depression, and helping people move forwards in business and in life. So my ideal clients are speakers and coaches, but I also love to help aspiring entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people suffering with stresses, anxiety, depression, any frustration, and people who need help with self-confidence.
Awesome. And what's the big dream for you? I mean, you asked me the question, so let me turn it back on you. So we know where you are today, but what's the dream? Like, when it hits the end of the year or for the next 12 months, what are you working on?
My big dream, but I never see it as a dream, I see it as a goal because I'll turn my dreams into reality no matter what. But I want to get onto bigger stages. I want to do speaking in the USA and become more international with my speaking. I want to bring out another couple of books. I want to eventually do a couple of audio CDs again for helping and people in their business journeys and self-confidence. Really speaking, I really want to get onto the bigger stages. I want to do more international, definitely the USA. I want to build a bigger coaching business and take it more into a bigger online community, to build a community of people to a coaching program and bring out more programs, bring out more books, bring out more audio CDs. And I definitely want to give back to charities, which I do little bits with charities, but I definitely want to do more for charities as my journey progresses. And just keep on inspiring and helping people, especially people that have come from bad circumstances, who haven't got that self-belief that they can do what they want to do in life. I am the perfect example that you can do anything you want to do, no matter what your past background, where you are at the moment. It doesn't matter. What matters is about where you're going and how you're going to get there.
It's amazing. You've got amazing big goals. And what I was thinking when you were speaking actually is that there are a lot of people who aren't in a good position or who haven't come from good beginnings. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe have a chip on their shoulder. And I think for me, what I really, really love about you is you're so positive. You're so kind and you're so positive and you're non-judgmental and you're humble. And I think actually that's something that should be celebrated and spoken about on stage as well, because it is really a mindset thing. And I think that we've mentioned a little bit before about mindset, right, and how we approach things and how we view things, but where you are now doesn't dictate where you're going to be. And if you can just change your mindset and your thinking and your beliefs, it has a huge impact on the forward journey and the doors that will open. And I really do feel like you are a phenomenal example of that. And it's really worth celebrating and also something worth speaking up about as well, because what I've learned in my 3-year journey more than ever is the attitude is everything. And you can be the most amazing speaker, you can be the most amazing anything, but if your attitude stinks, then you're not going to get the doors opening the way they would if you had a really good attitude about you and a good mental mindset as well.
Let's bring back good ethics, collaboration and not competition, no jealousy, just everyone working together, collaborating together, and bring back good ethics. There doesn't need to be dog eat dog, every person for themselves. If everyone works together, collaborates together, everybody thrives.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And I guess on that note, I should probably say thank you very much for hosting this talk today. Even though the technology let us down on my end, I'm really, really grateful that you hosted it on your end. And it's been really, really nice to kind of catch up with you live and to share you and your story with my guys that have been tuning in and watching, and the people that are going to catch us on the replay. And it's been really, really nice to just find out where you're at and where you're going with everything. And I wish you so much success with it. And and also thank you very much for all the support that you've been giving to me as well over the last couple of years.
And thank you for sharing your journey with us. And any of my network watching, please connect with Suzie if you need help with anything PR related. She's absolutely amazing at what she does. And thank you for sharing your story with me, Suzie. I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
You're welcome. Well, may it be the first of many.
We'll catch up soon then. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye, Suzie. Bye.